Hi everyone, I'm Empress Sankofa and thank you for tuning into this video by Aunt Empress Holistics. So I'm going to talk to you guys today about retrograde season. Yes, we are in a heavy duty retrograde season right now as I speak. There are currently 5 planets in retrograde, and I'm going to talk to you about each one of these planets and their significance and how to figure out how you in particular will be affected by each retrograde. So I do want to make this known that this is a general description. If you want to know how each planet is going to affect you in particular, there are a few things that you have to consider. You will have to look at the sign that planet is retrograding in, and you're going to have to find that sign in your natal chart. That's number one. Number two, you're going to have to look for any aspects related to that sign. So when I think of aspects, I typically think of oppositions and squares. So I'm speaking astrology language, so if you don't know what I'm talking about and you would like to schedule a one-on-one reading with me to review your natal chart so that you can get the most out of these lessons, I'm currently taking past and new clients at this time. So reach out and let me know. And number three, you're going to have to look at what house that sign is in your natal chart if you want to get the real nitty-gritty, juicy details on specifically how this is going to affect you. Okay, so now that I have mentioned that, we're going to talk about the 5 planets that are currently retrograding. So the first planet is Mercury. So typically when an astrologer or pretty much anybody on the internet is talking about retrogrades, they're going to be talking about Mercury retrograde. Mercury is the closest planet to the sun in our solar system, and it goes into retrograde the most times. So Mercury goes into retrograde 3 times a year. Whereas like the more distant planets like Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and yes, Pluto. Pluto is still a planet. Those outer planets tend to go into retrograde less times during a year. However, when they are in retrograde, they stay in retrograde for longer periods of time. So first planet that is in retrograde right now is Mercury. So Mercury was in retrograde from June 17th and will be in retrograde until July 12th. The sign that Mercury is retrograding in is Cancer. So Cancer being a water sign, actually we're almost about halfway through this particular retrograde. We're almost there. So during this time, you've probably been noticing that you have been having a lot of issues coming up with rethinking, reorganizing, replanning, lots of different things surrounding the home, family, and like personal relationships surrounding home and family, trying to decide if you should redo something, if you should move to a different location, things of that nature. Basically, we're trying to rethink. Mercury retrograde is a time to rethink everything. Mercury retrograde is not a time to make drastic decisions about anything. It is not time to buy a house. If you've been thinking about moving, since Cancer is heavily rooted with things dealing with the home, it's not time to purchase a home during that time. It's not time to sign contracts. It's not time to get back with the ex or whatever. It's a time to rethink and reorganize so that when Mercury comes out of retrograde, we have a different perspective on whatever we were thinking about while it was in retrograde. So yes, so that's Mercury retrograde in Cancer. Then we have Jupiter, who is retrograding in Capricorn. So this retrograde started May 14th and will last until September 12th. Jupiter is said to be in its detriment when it is in Capricorn. The reason being, if I can explain this to you in layman's terms, Saturn is like the parent that is strict, the strict disciplinarian, likes rules. And Jupiter is the child who's the wild card, who's like kind of the opposite of that parent, who loves freedom, expansion, travel, philosophical learning, higher learning. Is very, easygoing and, floating through the wind type energy. So when Jupiter has to embody the energy of Saturn, the parent, the strict disciplinarian, the strict mama, Jupiter is completely out of his element. Jupiter naturally rules Sagittarius. So if you can look at how a Sagittarius moves versus, say, a Capricorn who is ruled by Saturn, you see like the different dynamics. So when Jupiter is going forward in Capricorn, it's a really tough time because he's so much out of his element. Instead of being like free and just kind of going with the wind, he has to look more at tradition and think in a totally different way. So it's kind of like the wild card kid having to be the parent, so to speak, embody that parent's energy, that strict parent, and it's so against his nature. So in retrograde, Jupiter in Capricorn in retrograde actually works to our benefit. So when we're thinking about increasing wealth, luck, expansion, freedom, travel, well, be careful with the travel, the Rona situation. But all of these things that Jupiter is naturally about, we have that opportunity to go within. Retrogrades are a time for introspection, not projecting energy outwardly, but taking that time to examine our energy inwardly. So when we look at Jupiter in Capricorn going retrograde, this is a great time for us to look at wealth in a different way. How can we increase our wealth in a different way? Instead of being one type of lucky, we might find luck in working hard. So embracing that Saturnian energy to gain luck and travel and freedom and learning new things about ourselves. This is a perfect time to do that while Jupiter is retrograding in Capricorn. Okay, so then next, number 3, we have Saturn. So as of July 1st, yesterday, Saturn left the sign of Aquarius and went back into Capricorn. So Saturn and Capricorn energy. Saturn is at home in Capricorn. This is Saturn's home sign. So Saturn and Capricorn embody the energies of, hard work and rules and discipline and structure and tradition. We're talking the past and karma cycles, basically learning from the past, like putting in the hard work. Saturn, Capricorn loves when there's a reward for putting in hard work. That's what it's all about. So from July 1st until December 17th, Saturn, I keep falling back with the planets, but Saturn will be retrograding in its home sign, Capricorn. So this is definitely a time for us to look within ourselves and to be completely honest with ourselves about where we are in the present as well as where we have been. This is a time for us to take responsibility. That's a big Saturnian energy, is taking responsibility for one's own actions. I feel like a lot of times in life, it's very easy for us to project energy outwardly, to point fingers and assign blame. This person did this to me. That person did that to me. If it wasn't for this person or that person, this situation would not have happened in my life. But in the terms of Saturn in Capricorn and during the retrograde of Saturn in Capricorn, this is the time for us to acknowledge our role in everything that is going on in our life. It is a time for us to re-examine. So that word the retrograde, to re-examine where we have been, where we are right now. Let's Sankofa. Let's go back and fetch it. Let's go back to the past. Let's really look at where we are and where we have been, and let's integrate those lessons. Let's work hard. Saturn and Capricorn also rules issues dealing with career and business. So during this time, you might have a different viewpoint of your career. And this kind of goes in with the Jupiter energy, also with, you know, the money and expansion. So you might have a different view of what you're doing for work. Maybe if you have not been doing something that is fulfilling to your soul's purpose and your soul's calling, you might find it difficult to stay in that that work environment or to continue doing what you've been doing. Perfect time to really re-examine those things and to let go of whatever is no longer serving your soul's purpose any longer. Okay, so we've covered number 1, Mercury. We've covered number 2, Jupiter. We've covered number 3, Saturn. So now let's move forward into our 4th planet. So our 4th planet in retrograde is Neptune. So like Saturn retrograding in Capricorn, which is its home sign, Neptune is retrograding in Pisces, which is its home sign. Neptune is known as the planet of illusions and fantasies. Basically rules all of the things that, all of the lies and delusions that we tell ourselves when we can't face the harsh truths of reality. So right now, Neptune retrograding in Pisces, whatever things that we have been say lying to ourselves about. I know some people say, oh, don't say the L word, lying is so harsh. That is a very Neptune thing to say, or a very Pisces-ish type thing to say. Let's just put it out there. All the ways that we have been lying to ourselves, deceiving ourselves about whatever situations in our life, whatever truths we could not face. Now that Neptune is retrograding, it's kind of like backtracking through Pisces, and it will be doing it started June 22nd and will do so until November 28th. So all those things that we have been just like, I don't want to think about it. I'm going to keep that off my mind. I don't want to face that. Nope. Don't tell me. Now that it's retrograde, now that Neptune is retrograding in Pisces, we're being forced to look at reality. We're getting a very harsh reality check, and we're having to really go within ourselves. So once again, this energy of introspection, like going within yourself to really look at, okay, is this really the other person that has been deceiving me? Or was I believing what I wanted to see? Was there some type of Neptune illusion, some type of veil covering my eyes that I put there? Was I wearing rose-colored glasses? Is it really anyone else's fault? And during this time, you can probably expect that as people are starting to see through their own illusions, they're going to start gaslighting. That is a narcissistic term for when someone cannot take responsibility for their own actions. So therefore, they point the fingers at everybody. You did this, you did this, you did that. It's your fault, it's your fault. So you can probably expect people to be doing that around this time from June 22nd up until November 28th. People are going to start pointing fingers and blaming other people for the situations and problems in their life that they created, for the illusions that they chose not to acknowledge and to accept about themselves. But you know what? Because I'm here and I'm telling you, I'm giving you this advice right now, you can prepare for it so that you can govern yourself accordingly. Because everything in our reality, whether we like to accept it or not, everything in our reality is a result of choices and decisions that we have made in the present or in our past. Every person that is in your life for a reason. Everything that you're learning for a reason. And the faster that we're able to acknowledge our role in co-creating our lives, I believe in the philosophy that we're all connected to the divine source. Like all of us are pieces of the divine. And when you put us all together, like all the lessons that everybody is learning, here in this solar system, in this version of the universe, and all the multiverses and every solar system dimension that exists. All of it is a part of the divine mind. Some might say the mind of God. Everybody has a different concept on what the divine source is. So whatever your definition of what God is, we're all a part of it. Like nobody's isolated from anything. We're just all in different parts of our journeys. We're all learning different things. Or you can say we're all learning the same things at different rates, and learning our lessons differently because we all have different perspectives. But the faster that we can acknowledge our role in the state and the condition of our life, the faster we can heal and the faster that we can evolve. Okay, so I think I said enough about number 4, Neptune. So now we're going to get into the 5th planet that is in retrograde, and that would be Pluto. So any good astrologer is going to tell you that Pluto is still a planet. I don't care what anybody else tells you. Pluto is still a planet. Pluto's influence on a society, on a generation, is definitely profound. When I think of Pluto, I think of everything taboo, hidden, occult, sex, death, transformation, rebirth, like all of these things, like all of like the taboo stuff. So Pluto rules Scorpio. So if you can think of what a Scorpio's mind is like, this is like the realm of Pluto. This is the underworld. This is the dark, hidden, like deep shit, right? So it's like, don't tread lightly. If you're not ready to dive into the ocean, like don't get in there because you're gonna sink and you're gonna lose your breath and you're gonna be like gasping for air, like, oh, I'm trying to get back up. You know, this is I've been way over my head. Yeah, so this is Pluto. So right now, Pluto is retrograding in the sign of Capricorn. So Pluto started this retrograde in Capricorn on April 25th and will do so until October 4th. So during this time of Pluto retrograding in Capricorn, we're going to have the opportunity to really basically go into the underworld within the deepest, darkest places of our souls and like really dig up like the stuff that is no longer serving us. Like really our deepest, darkest traumas, our deepest, darkest fears. For some of you guys that may be tapped in spirit, like deeply spiritually, you might be having dreams from past life situations and things like that. Because when you look at the energy of Pluto, which is, you know, Hades, the god of the underworld, Scorpio, and you look at Capricorn, which is Saturn, Lord of karma and cycles and the past and tradition, when you put the two together, you get the opportunity to revisit the past on a deep level. And so it's not, when I say revisit the past on a deep level, this is not like Saturn and Capricorn type revisiting the past. Like, okay, what lesson did you learn? Like, no, your skeletons in the closet are going to get flesh and bone, and they're going to be zombies, like the Saharan dust cloud coming in from the Sahara. This is what I think of when I think of Pluto and Scorpio. Sorry, not Pluto and Scorpio, but that is my generation. It's probably why I was thinking about it. But the Pluto and Capricorn retrograding, the deep, dark traumas of the past. So if you had an issue 3 lifetimes ago, something very traumatic happened to you possibly. I'm just using this as an example. I'm not saying this is the case for anybody, but it could be, you know, something deep and dark happened to you 3 lifetimes ago. And that energy, debris, residue is like still lingering in your aura. Since then, you have continued to attract the same type situations into your life. And Pluto in Capricorn retrograding, Pluto retracing its steps through Capricorn, is bringing up that old shit. It's time to deal with it. The last time that Pluto was in Capricorn, just to give you a perspective, we were experiencing the American Revolution. Yes, George Washington was literally leading the troops against Great Britain, and the Declaration of Independence, like we're coming up on July 4th. Yeah, like literally bombs bursting in the air. We're not talking fireworks, bombs bursting in the air. So just think about that energy of the American Revolution, and just think of it as your personal revolution. Because this Pluto Capricorn retrograde is going to be a whole new life emerging for some people. This is going to be like death to the old identity, transformation on like a deep level. When I say deep level, I mean like butterfly type transformation. I mean like, and I don't mean like, you know, the little animated kids cartoon caterpillar into a butterfly. No, I mean caterpillar goes into the chrysalis and the cocoon and melts into goop, like a disgusting goop, and then comes out at just the right time and has wings and flies like the phoenix rising from the ashes. Like for some people, this could be a tower moment. If you don't know what the tower is, look up the tower card in tarot and it will explain everything. There's a tower and there's like lightning bolts flashing and there's people falling out of the tower. So Pluto, as we know, the Scorpio energy, there's nothing subtle about the Scorpio energy. Everything is like heavy and dark and focused and just like methodical level type things. So whatever situations are going on in your life that these retrogrades are bringing forward, definitely recognize that this is a great time for metamorphosis and for change. You don't have to stay the same person that you were 6 months ago. And if someone wants you to be the same person that you were in the past, maybe they don't need to be in your present, because you have the right to change. And if anyone is like just looking at this season of retrogrades, and if they're the same person after the season of retrogrades that they were before, they did not utilize this energy to their advantage, because this is a major shift in awareness. 4 out of 5 of the planets in retrograde that I mentioned are either in Capricorn, which is an archetype of the divine feminine mother, who is like the strict disciplinarian, follow the rules and work hard, son and daughter, and there will be great rewards in your work and your career. And yes, you fell and you bumped your knee, but get back up again, little Johnny. Get back up again. I believe in you. That is the Capricorn mother. The Cancer mother is very nurturing and watery and sensitive. Capricorn is sensitive on the inside. But you have the dynamic of these two mother energies. So still, we're finding the balance of nurturing as well as discipline and hard work. So when you put those two together, right now, us as a society, we're working through lifting and cleaning out old debris, making way for the new. So right now we're still dealing with wounds left from our parents and childhood, and our parents and childhood from previous lifetimes and previous lifetimes before that, and all of the psychological mental programs that have been operating in humanity's mind on an individual level and a collective level, societal level, since who knows when. Because if you read about these Greek and Roman gods that the planets and the asteroids are named after, there's no wonder when they move past each other in the sky, it creates so much drama between people, because clearly they had a lot of issues up there on Mount Olympus. So those issues translate into different problems in our lives, problems with parenting, problems with children, interpersonal relationships with other people. And so now is the opportunity for us to really dig deep within ourselves and to do the work. Because if you're alive right now, you have a role. We all have a role to make a difference, one in our own lives and then one for the world. And when I say that, I want everyone to really grasp what I'm saying. During this retrograde season, keep in mind that I said retrograde. Redo everything. It's not a time to, well, until Mercury retrograde ends, it's not a time to like really start getting into contracts and things like that. But you want to reflect. Spend a lot of time with yourself reflecting. Take time away to reflect. revisit and reflect and go back and get those lessons and stop pointing fingers at other people. Once again, retrograde season, go within yourself. Focus all of that energy within yourself. Let your light so shine before men that they might see your good works. Not you telling them, let them see you recycling. Let them see you eating better. Let them see you exercising and taking mind of your physical body. Let them see you taking personal accountability and responsibility for your actions. Let them see you making a difference in your own life, because I've learned this from experience. When you go out with protesting signs and picketing signs, I'm not talking about Black Lives Matter when I say this, so anybody that is trying to be offended, I'm not talking about that. But you can't go around with picketing signs, hey, change, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to pick up plastic out of the ocean, you need to do that. No, you make a difference when you're the person who starts picking up plastic out of the ocean. You can't tell people you need to stop eating hamburgers every day if you're still eating hamburgers every day. You have to be that example. You have to put your best foot forward. That change has to start within you, because when that change starts on an individual level, then can we start to affect the world at large. Not when you're going out, do as I say, not as I do. Yeah, we're getting rid of those old themes. Like, the old world is gone. Like, we're shifting into a new space, we're shifting into a new age, we're shifting into a new dynamic. And so in order for us to do that, we really have to clean out this old programming and just like really go forward into like a very a lighter state of being. Because like, really, you can't hold on to this stuff and operate in higher realms and higher dimensions, because number one, the heart is the gateway into the higher realms. And if your heart ain't right, you ain't gonna get there. Just point blank period. So during this time, if I can offer, as I conclude, as I can offer any advice on a general level, is do the work as much as possible. Focus inwardly. I honestly feel like by the time we hit 2021, we're probably not going to recognize ourselves individually or as a society. We already see that 2020 started and we're getting 2020 vision. There's so many things that have happened at the beginning of this year up to now that's just like wild. Like literally a year ago, just imagine where you were a year ago. And if who you are right now could talk to that person a year ago and tell you everything that is going on in the world right now, you probably wouldn't believe it. You'd be like, no. So just imagine how much of a paradigm shift, how much quantum leaping you can do in different areas of your life if you take the lessons of the Mercury retrograde and you take the lessons of the Mercury retrograde in Cancer, and you're focusing that energy on finding emotional security in your relationships and rethinking everything, and the Jupiter in Capricorn retrograde and rethinking your spiritual practice and expansion and wealth and knowledge, and Saturn in Capricorn retrograde, rethinking your career, letting go of what no longer is serving your purpose. Neptune retrograde, Neptune in Pisces retrograde, when you're looking at, okay, in what ways have I been deceiving myself? In what ways have I been wearing rose-colored glasses? What do I need to acknowledge in my own life so that I can elevate and move forward? Because we want to elevate in 2020. Or we can look at Pluto and Capricorn retrograding, and we're able to like really face our deep and dark traumas from the past and let that shit go and actually move forward and be progressive within our own lives, which is going to ultimately affect everyone. Even if it's on a micro level, micro levels turn into big results. If you don't believe me, look at bacteria. Look at the Rona. We're talking about a little virus that has these catastrophic effects on the world at large. We can't fly on planes like we want to right now. We can't walk around without a mask, without people looking at us funny like, a little itty bitty virus has literally shifted the perception, the view, the world view, the world point of view. So just imagine if everybody or even one person starts to make micro decisions that that shift their own awareness, that shift their own perception into higher planes of being, into operating from a heart-centered state of being, how that's going to affect the planet. How is it? Humans like to think that they're the most intelligent species, but I'm pretty sure there are extraterrestrials that we can't see right now. They can see us. They can feel our heavy energy, like, and they're like, okay, these humans are not that smart, you know? So take this time to focus on yourself. And if you have questions on how you in particular can utilize your natal astrology. Natal astrology is a completely different language. Believe me, I know. When you start talking about planets and signs and degrees and orbs and angles, aspects and exaltation, I know it gets confusing, especially if it's not a language that you speak fluently. There's people that have been, like myself, that have been studying astrology for years, and I'm still learning a lot about astrology. Like, oh, wow, that's interesting. Experts still learning about astrology. So you never come to a point where you know everything. So needless to say, I understand how confusing the astrology language is. So don't rack your brain about it. There's a lot of other things to be concerned about at this point in time in the world. So if you have questions about your natal astrology chart, if you want to know how these 5 planets that are retrograding actively right now is going to affect you personally, your personal aspects and your houses and degrees and angles and all of that stuff, reach out to me, send me a message, and let me know that you want to schedule a one-on-one session, and I'll be glad to work with you and just kind of point out some things that you might not have seen on your own with the astrology. I'll be glad to do so. Once again, I'm taking past and new clients at this time, so definitely take advantage of that opportunity. Send me a message and save yourself the hours and the frustration of trying to get all into astrology. So thank you again for tuning in to Aunt Empress Holistics. I am Empress Sankofa, and this has been your retrograde season forecast. All right, beautiful souls, enjoy your day and enjoy the rest of your week, and we shall chat soon.